Okay, so welcome everybody to the Financial Advisory Webinar Series. For those of you who don't know me, although I think by now everybody does, that's myself, Tanya Hilt. I'm the founder of Cloud Bookkeeping Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. I'm not going to go through all of these, but just a couple of highlights to point out of some pretty big achievements we've made is that we were awarded with the IPBC 2019 Professional Leader of the Year. Our Bookkeepers Bootcamp qualified for continuing education credits in 2018, and that was a pretty big deal. Of course, we're the Intuit Global Firm of the Future for 2018 and the Canadian runner-up for 2017, and we were awarded one of Practice Ignition's top 50 women in accounting globally in 2018. So those, again, is some pretty big recent achievements. This webinar has been submitted for continuing education credits. There will be 2 polls that must be answered in order to qualify for the credits. A recording of the webinar, along with some other resource links that Qvinci has provided, will be emailed within 2 days. And the certificates for the credits will be emailed within 2 weeks of us receiving the official approval. How they've been working is they basically want to approve a month at a time. So this will be submitting the end of November, receive it back sometime in December. We are closing down early for a little bit of Christmas vacation. So if you don't get it in December, you'll get it in January, but it will be dated for today. And they have been approving them. So there is no, the only reason they just didn't want to approve them in advance is just if something happened with the date or, you know, if it had to be postponed or something. So, all right. So today we have Qvinci with us. We are near the end of the series. We've got 2 more, and then of course the finale will be the first week of December. So I will pass it over to Charles from Qvinci, and Charles, you can just take over from here then.
Okay, thank you, Tanya.
Sorry, actually, just sorry, before I get started, if you guys can put any questions in the Q&A, I will be monitoring them, and then we'll be answering them, you know, at different points throughout the webinar when it seems, you know, fit to put it in there, but Charles doesn't have access to see those, so just put those in. The Q&A is easier rather than the chat, please. Okay, great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Charles Nagel. I'm the founder and chief innovation officer at Qvinci, and we're going to discuss business intelligence and advisory services. And so we just got back from QB Connect, and everyone that came in the booth wanted to jumpstart or increase their advisory services, and we're asking, you know, how do you do that? And of course, there are some things that can add some value, and there are some things that add a lot of value. And so we're going to talk to them and run through a slideshow, and then we're going to do a very brief introduction to the app itself, so you can see how an app might deliver that. But you know, we're going to learn what customers value, because advisory services are all about doing advising, and that's what we want to focus on, what customers value. So let's look at some of the things that they value. And these are in descending order, actually. So you want a client perceived value. The values, if you want to do pricing and value and client attraction, then those things increase when you cover these kind of things. The price of the value to the customer is not the time for the service necessarily, because you don't really care if it takes you 37 seconds to do something that's worth $250, right? It's the value of the product or the service. The next that increases your value to your clients when you're trying to jumpstart your advisory services and client value and attraction. And again, when you're adding value to clients, you want to use that as an attractive tool, something to gain new clients. We're going to show you talk a little bit about how some of our clients do that. So solutions that the customer cannot easily implement or buy elsewhere. And that is a big, big deal, because let's just lay the groundwork here. If you give your clients reports, P&L, statement of cash flow, balance sheet every month, and I'm going to use QuickBooks ubiquitously as accounting. It's just, you know, it doesn't really matter what the accounting services are. But if your client can log into their QuickBooks file online and run the exact same reports that you give them, what is the value of that report provided in an email to them? Well, it's pretty close to zero, because they can do it for themselves. So we want to do things that the client cannot, and I'm going to add, will not do for themselves. Now, of course, you want to be the trusted expert in areas the client is not. Now, I am a former turnaround consultant. You know, that's when you go into a business and it's mostly dead, as Billy Crystal said, or suffering. And the reason that happens more often than not is because entrepreneurs are like ice cream. They may be different flavors of ice cream, but they're definitely all ice cream. And what that means is a guy that runs a fried chicken place knows everything about fried chicken. That's what he loves. It's what he's into. And the guy that has the granite tile and a granite installation, he knows everything about granite. He probably gets on the forklift and moves slabs of granite around. But these entrepreneurs that run these businesses are not accountants, nor are they financial wizards. They are subject matter experts. And that's where they turn to you to be the trusted expert in the area that they are not, which is financial analysis and advice. Now, you also want to provide a stability versus risk. In other words, you want to provide a solution that reduces the customer's exposure, and knowledge is power. The way you reduce customers' exposure is by increasing their knowledge, not by giving them a massive suite of reports that they don't understand, I might add. And then, of course, we want to, and there's a universal slogan in sales, and it's sell to the pain, right? So we want to solve the customer's problems with expertise that you possess, that they don't necessarily possess because you have a unique solution. So you want to cover these 5 things. When you're adding value, you want to jumpstart services that are more valuable. You have to be able to address these 5 unique characteristics, because if you don't, the value is liable to be less. So, well, what kind of things would we do? Now, we believe at Qvinci that one of the most valuable things you could do is add advanced reporting and business intelligence as a deliverable to your client with something that they understand. See, as an example, let's lay the foundation here. If you give a client a trailing 12-month report, I love the report, it's fantastic. But let's realize that there's 14 columns in that report, because you got a chart of accounts, 12 months, and then a total. And the average chart of accounts on a P&L is about 60 lines. So what we're saying here is we're going to ask that client to interrogate 840 cells in that report to see the anomaly or to find the value. And they're not going to do that. So we want to give them the things that they understand. So knowledge is power. The more you know, the better decisions that you can make. It's the more that you know. So we're going to increase their knowledge by delivering business intelligence. Relative data is the most powerful kind. Now, the most important thing that you could deliver to a client, and we'll talk about how you can do this, is to show them how they compare to peers in a detailed way. Well, how are you going to do that? I mean, well, you can do that by saying, I've got, I'm going to show you a dental example in a minute. I've got 20 dentists. Well, what if you could show each one of your dental clients in an automated, scalable way how they compare in a detailed way to other dentists that you might have? They're not related to each other than the fact they do dentistry, but what if you could show them how other dentists are doing? Well, now that is relative data. And all of a sudden, you're now delivering deep business intelligence to them. Trend data is the next most powerful kind. In other words, show me the last 12 months, but show me where I'm going. As an example, we'll show you a report that says we're going to take the last 24 months. If you keep doing what you've been doing, this is where you're going to end. Trended data shows you what has happened period over period, year over year, or month over month. And then you want to forecast that forward, right? So trended data is the third most powerful kind. Now, KPIs and reports, if you're going to deliver business intelligence, it has to be able to be understood. And it has to be able to be digested. In other words, it needs to be able to be utilized. So charts and graphs are great. We call it eye candy at Qvinci. We have it. But the charts and graphs that you deliver to a client you need to be able to analyze that, take a look at it, and then drill into underlying data and make a decision. You want your charts and graphs to be available very, very quickly, but immediately digestible. Oh, I see where this is. It's a down arrow. It's red, down by 27%. I better go to that trailing 12-month report and interrogate it, as an example. So too much data does not get used, as I just discussed. Give them a massive amount of financial data. I did a survey one time with clients, and I'll synopsize it. My accountant gives me all these good reports, and I put them in a drawer because I don't understand it, right? I think we can probably all kind of agree on that one, right? So insignificant data doesn't create change. So if you give them a pie chart that shows them their current ratio is 1.8, what significant thing did they do with it? I mean, you can tell them, well, you need to get more liquid, so have more liquid assets or reduce your debt, right? I mean, but that's not a knob that they can easily turn, as an example. So data that is hard to or infrequently collected never gets enabled. So giving them an annual report or a quarterly report, it's too late. Unless you're going to cook the books, it's over with the last quarter. We want to look at things almost near real time. And then, of course, to do these kind of things, you need to be able to standardize and automate the business intelligence. In other words, we cannot build an atomic bomb for every one of our clients. It's not scalable. They wouldn't pay the rate at $150 or $250 an hour for you to build a highly customized report each and every month. So we need to standardize reporting and automate it. And that's where scalability gets ramped up. When you start doing these kinds of things, when you're doing business intelligence and advanced reporting, when you start doing these kinds of things, your value quotient for your client goes through the roof. So let's position the firm. I mean, how are we going to position the firm? Let's say that we agree that advanced business intelligence and automation and standardization, these are great ideas. So what are we going to do? How are we going to position ourselves to our clients? Well, one, you're going to do for clients what they cannot do for themselves. And you're going to create business intelligence instead of first overloading clients with detailed reports. In other words, we're going to go from general to specifics. So we need to fundamentally shift our thinking that says, the most detailed reports possible, those are supporting evidence. Those are the last 4 pages of the reporting package I'm going to give to my client. Okay? And there's, again, supporting evidence at the end. And you want to attempt to leverage your client network to improve, to provide highly unique client value and client insight. In other words, that peer benchmarking comparison. If you have 15 of the similar types, yogurt shops, restaurants, doctors, lawyers, it doesn't matter. Anything where you have a similar type and kind, you have a built-in network that you should be leveraging to provide detailed benchmark information. Now, when you scale the firm, technologies are really, really important. So you want to use SaaS-based solutions, software as a service, online solutions. Downloading on-premise solutions where everybody's got a different login and a different set of credentials and installing it, that is dead. That is a dead solution. It's not scalable. So things need to be online. And you want to standardize and automate reports. In other words, you want to be able to build industry-based templates that will work for every last one of your dentists. You don't really care how many locations they have. You don't really care where they are. You just want to select the dentist, click download, and the business intelligence falls out, and you take a look at it and send it to the client. Okay? Standardization and automation of reporting templates are imperative because you're trying to deliver high value in the least amount of time possible. We're going to eliminate, so to the next point, we're going to eliminate the time and effort required to generate these things. Now, I know this is hard to understand because typically, and let's think about this, typically when you deliver reports to a client without something like a Qvinci, you log in the QuickBooks file, you export reports to Excel, then you try to combine them, and then you style them and put them all together in a nice pretty package. Well, that's very, very time consuming. We don't want to do that anymore. What you want is you want a solution that will extract that data automatically from QuickBooks and populate your standard design for that industry, let's say, and then dump down the package to Excel or PDF. So that the process goes from being hours to, say, 45 seconds. And that's what standardization and automation is all about, which eliminates the time and the effort. Now, there's another shift in the mindset here. We want to be proactive, not reactive when attracting clients. In other words, it's great when you get a referral. Intuit put up last year, put up a slide we sit on the Intuit API steering committee. The APIs are programming interface for third-party apps for QuickBooks Online. We sit on that committee. And they put up a slide that says the average accountant grows by 2.5 new customers a year. And that's okay, but that's not really scalable, right? Because that's hard work. It takes a long time to get a client. What we really want to do is have a solution that ramps that up and amps that up. And so we do so by reaching out to prospects with a business intelligence template and putting it in front of them and say, listen, when you come to me, I'm going to give you this. And the client understands it and they go, oh, okay, well, let's talk about all the services you're going to do. So you want to be proactive, not reactive, waiting for the phone to ring. We don't want to do that. We want to have a solution that we can deliver to people in that industry in Dallas because you're in Dallas or countrywide. And then you want to deliver the reports. This is really important, this last one. You want to deliver reports. Do not give the client a self-help login. And people will say, well, Charles, I just think it's great if the client could just log in and run the reports for themselves. Well, there's two things that are not happen that are not going to be good. One, they're going to log in before you close the books, and they're going to know why in the world these numbers don't look right. Number two, if they can log in and click a button and get a download in 45 seconds, what do you think the amount of effort they think you put in to that report is worth? You don't want to do that. What you want to do is go in, look at the reports, download the packages, and send them to the client, and then say, we're going to talk for 10 minutes about these red things that are on this report. Because that way, remember, we said early on, give them something they cannot easily do for themselves. If they can easily log in and click a button and get a download, the value goes down for that report. Don't do it. Send it to your customers. So let's talk a little bit. I tell you what, before we do that, Tanya, let's go ahead and take that first quiz before we get into this slide.
All right, sounds good. So let me just, here we are. Okay, so first poll is, do you believe providing high-value business intelligence reporting to your clients would increase your value and client attraction? Yes or no? Simple answers. And just remember, both polls need to be answered in order to qualify for your continuing education credits. So we'll give another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll end the polling, and the results are 100% say yes.
Well, I'm glad we're thinking the same way, and that's great. So we'll move on. You're going to drink. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, we'll drink from the fire hose this morning. You're going to get a lot of data thrown your way, but you're going to get a lot of follow-up data with collaterals from Qvinci. So, if you are going to do automated financial and BI reporting, if you're going to do it, okay, then these bullets have to be able to be done. So you got to be able to automatically collect financial data. That is a gotta have. Dumping things to Excel and trying to upload this, that does not work. There's not enough hours in the day, right? You got to be able to map into a standard chart of accounts. Now, Qvinci owns the patents on what we're about to discuss here. But imagine with me, look, let's take a prime example. If you serve nonprofits, Intuit in QuickBooks has income, and they have total income. And that's what it is, and that's the way that it is. But nonprofits don't have income, they have revenue. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to map what would be in QuickBooks into the desired reporting structure, whether it's consolidating many files or just an output for you that would be for a nonprofit, or a standard set of financials which doesn't follow with the QuickBooks reporting structure. That's called account mapping. We need to be able to map the native chart of accounts in the QuickBooks file into the desired reporting structure and report either in the native mode or the account map mode. You got to have an account map solution, or you're really limited on the types of reports that you can do, especially benchmarking. How do you benchmark? And at Qvinci, we have clients that have 1,600 files. Orange Theory Fitness has 1,100 files with us. They report and consolidate. How are you going to do that if the chart of accounts is different across all of them? Qvinci solves this. So when you're going to do reporting across a multi-unit entity, I don't care if it's a client that has 2 files, 2 classes, or a client that's got 50 classes. You have to be able to standardize that, because sometimes people say, well, my chart of accounts in this file is rent. The chart of accounts in another file, it's lease, and another guy failed grammar, and he spells lease with 3 E's. Yet you want the financials to all get into the right standard. That's what account mapping is. Now you got to also be able to report by entity or location or class. We have clients that they're in the HVAC market, and each truck is a class in a QuickBooks file, as an example, or an entity or location. So you have to be able to not only report on the whole file, but you're going to need something that gives you the ability to report on a by class or entity basis. Sometimes you want to put those things up side by side. Why? Well, because it's pure benchmarking, right? So, I mean, if you have 5 trucks, you have 1 QuickBooks file, you got 5 trucks. Who doesn't want to see a P&L by entity side by side, ranked and stacked, compared to the average of all the trucks, or the top 10% of the trucks, right? And then you got to be able to do consolidation. And while Qvinci will, and I did a client this last week at QuickBooks Connect, they didn't turn on account mapping at all. We just consolidated all 5 files because their chart of accounts was close. You want a solution that can do that? Consolidate the native chart of accounts, and when you get these bigger ecosystems, consolidate the account mapped chart of accounts. You need a solution that can do that. And then, of course, you want to be able to build your templates, which are kind of tuned toward the industries. Okay, so for instance, nonprofits have a different reporting structure than the yogurt shop, but you'd like a solution that can do them both, right? So you're going to be able to tune the reporting structure to the need of the client in the industry that they're in, which means you also have to be agnostic to the files, the QuickBooks files, chart of accounts, agnostic. And then templates that can be tailored. So, and this is a big one. How valuable is it? This is a polling question, but this is on the fly, just, think to yourself. If you give people a set of reports and they're so generic that they don't point the client where the problems or the opportunities are, then what is the value? Well, that's nice. I mean, what you're going to get out of your client is, well, that's nice. Boy, it looks good. Ooh, I like that little round half circle thing. How cool is that? Yeah, it's cool looking. But you always wanted to, and take this away, folks, if you take nothing else away from this webinar today, this is the value point. Anytime you're going to do reporting or business intelligence, you should ask this question. What significant thing do I or my client do with this? Okay? What significant thing do I or my client do with this? If the answer is not much, your value is not much. And after looking at it about 2 or 3 times, they're going to go, well, it's nice, but it's not helping me any. Okay? It's all about client perceived value. And here's the deal, as we said earlier, the higher the value, the more they're willing to pay. Let's move forward. Here's an example. I'm going to give you an example of stuff that we do, you should do. Now, you can do this in Excel. You can build this report in Excel. You just have to do it yourself by dumping the data out of QuickBooks into an Excel, and it's going to be different in redoing these formulas all the time. But how valuable is this? What if you could have a reporting structure that this was one of the first pages, as an example, and it was run in March, so it's last month and same period of last year, and remember, turning to data, that's the 5th most valuable time, so period over period. So wouldn't it be great to have a solution that automatically did all these calculations for you and dump this thing out? And what do we see on this page? Red is bad and green is good, generally. So what if this were a page in a reporting package, and given the numbers in the far right column, numbers are important, but the red draws your eyes to the lines that you want to pay attention to, right? So, and everything we do in this webinar today is fictitious QuickBooks files, right? So all the numbers are all over the place. But I'm going to give you an example. You see where it says cash, you got cash on hand, months of cash reserves. Can they easily do that? Would they do that? Do they want to do that? No, not so much. We just want to automatically calculate it. So you take the last month's, what Qvinci does, it calculates the last month's expenses and divides it by into the cash on hand. And you have to keep doing what you've been doing last month. This is how many months you got. And this year is up over last year. I like that, right? It doesn't matter if they don't have any COGS. They don't have any COGS, that's great. You know what's really good about having that COGS line in there for, say, a services company? Do your clients slot transactions incorrectly sometimes? Could it happen? Does it always happen? I better see zeros there if there's no COGS. So it can give you intel into the underlying data as an example. And you want to be able to customize and change this. You want to be able to insert rows above the profitability and maybe tune it for an industry, maybe dentist-specific KPIs or a physician or a yogurt shop specific KPIs. But it would be really great if this kind of thing could automatically be generated and dumped out every time, and I don't have to build it. It's called a template. It automatically generates. This one is really, really popular, and who doesn't like this? Again, we're not giving our clients too much data. We do want to give them the data. See, giving clients just charts without the data is only mostly useless. Because the first question after they look at the chart is, I wonder what the numbers were. Well, you should put the numbers with the charts. Income, income last 12 months, year over year with a variance. The red line, if it's going more negative, it's a bad thing. The axis for the red line is on the right-hand side. The more that red line goes down, the more that what? Last year's month was better than this year's month. Are we beginning to see places to pay attention? So this is income and net income. And the nice thing about it is you could change it to be any account. So what you might do is copy a report like this, and you might do something specific in the dental industry or the lawyer or the legal industry or whatever. Take a specific set of accounts out of there. For instance, say owner compensation, period over period. How much am I taking out of this company? Might be valuable, right? You want to be able to pick and choose that which you render out. How about this one? And this is one we do. It's very simple, and you can do all kinds of things with this. And it turns out it's extremely valuable because forecasting is black art, right? There are no books on forecasting. Everybody uses the swag method, the swinging wild blank guess method of forecasting. I don't know. I think I'm going to do $1.5 million. In this particular permutation, it's a report in a package. And we pull out the year-over-year variance. What did you do the last 24 months, year over year? Now, these are all fictitious numbers, so you're going to have real numbers in here. And we take the major accounts, and of course, you could add the specific accounts in here, owner comp and that kind of thing. But what can we do here? Listen, we're building an income versus expenses versus net income. It's a summary. Remember, we had a slide in there that said too much data doesn't get used? Too much data does not get used. So let's give them a snapshot of where they're going. We pull out the most recent 24 months, year over year. We take the most recent 90 days, and then we prorate this variance forward. And if you keep doing what you have been doing, you will do $346,000 to the bottom line. That's just it. Because these are your numbers in history, and these are your numbers in actual. And of course, you could change it and modify this report. But what are we telling a customer? What is the next word out of a customer? The next statement out of a customer? I would really like that to be what I've got to do to make that $500,000. And that's music to your ears because they're asking for you for what? Your trusted advice. You want to start a conversation with your client. Anything that starts the conversation, that starts the ask from your client is a great thing because that's consulting revenue, which is worth a whole lot more than data entry revenue. Simple report like this, automatically generated. This one's really, really popular, and I will give you another permutation on this. Automatically generate the top 10 expenses in descending order year over year, trended data, right, year over year, and the variance between the two. So the snapshot of what we got going year to date, same period last year, the difference between the two, expenses are down basically. Again, fictitious files, they probably won't be down. How much they're up is a concern. And then automatically generate the top 10 expenses. You don't have to go into QuickBooks and dump it to Excel and do the sorting. Your solution should pull the data out automatically, put it to the screen, do the sorting for you, and render the report out. And it'll work for every one of your customers. See, we want to build automated templates that will automatically, as we say at Qvinci, hydrate with the client data correctly. And give them a UI, a visual. But I don't want to, see, I subscribe to the theory of this. I don't mind building this once, but I'm not building this every time for every client, and neither are you, right? So when we choose a solution that we're going to do business intelligence with, we want one that'll build templates that are cool, they look good, and they deliver BI, they deliver the graphics, they deliver the data, but they do it automatically. Build it once, use it many times. How about this one? And this one is extremely popular. It's a dental template, could be adapted to any industry, but let's just talk about, you notice there's no charts and graphs on here, but there's all kinds of BI. And it's easy to understand. So we're going to blend P&L data with balance sheet data with non-financial data and do peer benchmarking. Say what? So let's go back here. So P&L year over year, we're down $3,300 a year. Bank account balance, last month's expenses, this divided by this is 3.9 months. It's less than 6 months. It's red automatically. Now we know we need more than 6 months of cash in the bank, don't we? But we don't want to do these calculations. But we're telling our client, you're not liquid enough. You don't have enough money in the bank. Well, we want this to automatically generate. Now, what dentists care about and other industries care about is how much they make per day. So you're going to need a solution that will not only pull the data, but allow you to do custom math against the net work days per month and do these calculations to tell them that they made $21,262 per work day per month last month. How long would it take to do this for each client if you were going to do it for each client? And would they pay you for that? And the answer is no. I want to build a template, one page that does this automatically. This is where the power becomes. We're going to put in the chart of accounts that we've desired. And we're going to put in an optimum range. You put this in. You develop the range. You can use Qvinci to do this. And you develop the range that they ought to be operating in. Okay? Because you've got 15 dental clients or 15, dog walking franchises or 15, people in the restaurant industry. And if it violates the optimum range, it's red. Red means talk to me, help me figure out what I'm going to do here. Well, taking it a step further, this is the average of all the other dentists in your ecosystem. And the top 10% of all the other dentists in your ecosystem, or whatever industry it is. Okay, now these are all fictitious numbers. So if this were 8.6, your top 10 would probably be, 7.2. And the question that the client's going to ask you is, why? What do I got to do? What's going on with this one? You might put owner comp in here. A really valuable one to add in here would be owner comp. The top 10%, they're taking this percent out. I'm taking that percent out. I'm significantly larger than them. Maybe I should adjust my lifestyle. Or maybe I'm not taking enough. Okay? Then, of course, you're going to want to give them last month's actual and year-to-date actual. This delivers the trended peer benchmark comparisons using your ecosystem of like-kind companies. And it needs to be agnostic to industry. In other words, you want to be able to modify this and use it for any industry. And then, of course, we drop that little forecast down in here. One simple page, not a chart on the page. There's 3 red things. That's what we need to focus on. Everything else is within range. And you know what? And the client's going to say, well, I'm compared to everybody else like me. Hey, I'm better than average, but I'm not in the top 10%. Let's turn some knobs in staff costs, okay? Or maybe I'm not. We've had clients that are not spending enough in advertising and promotion. They wonder why their revenue is not growing. Well, their peers are spending more in advertising and promotion. You need to change that rate there. So, very simple way to automatically deliver peer benchmark comparison data. And these clients don't have to, listen to what I'm saying here, all these dentists or all these doctors or all these, pharmacies or restaurants do not need to be related to each other. They just need to be in the same industry. Because you are the tie that binds. You are the thing that groups them together of like kinds. You're collecting all the ducks together, so to speak, and comparing the ducks to each other anonymously. And your clients cannot possibly, remember one of the value points, do something they cannot easily do for themselves. Well, they're not doing this, right? Very powerful. Let's look at the Cobb value curve. And then, Tanya, we're going to take that second quiz.
Perfect.
This was developed by a guy, obviously named Cobb, and he's based in Houston. And it was built. This analysis was done for the legal segment, but it works in any professional service. It works anything, and it works in the accounting space. And it goes like this, and it's very simple. The more you become, the value commodity services are down in here, and they become price inelastic. In other words, let's face it, guys. If we're doing just accounting and bookkeeping, and I'm not saying it's not valuable, but in the client of the eyes of the client, it's an expense line in the P&L because they expect you to do that accurately. You say, well, I do this. I mean, we're accurate in our data. Well, that's just an expectation, right? They expect you to do good accounting or they wouldn't be using you. So the question is, do they ever have a view that says, I wonder if I can get that for less money? Because all accountants should do bookkeeping and data entry and accounting. You should do that accurately. So that becomes pretty price inelastic. What does the market bear for that kind of thing? And as we move away from things that have a lot of people doing the same things, we start to move up this curve. This is an inverted curve. It moves to the left. We start moving up here. And you get into things like brand name services. I'm going to use a certain type of payroll processing. Yeah, well, it's a little bit more valuable, but not infinitely more valuable. I mean, you've got 40%, 60% of is a lot more valuable than these name brand services. And then we get into these hired for experience. In other words, you're the trusted advisor. You have peer benchmarking. You have business intelligence, and it's highly valuable. And they can't get it anywhere else. They can't do it for themselves. And all of a sudden, the price sensitivity, it becomes a lot more price elastic rather. What is it worth to the client to have that business information? I'm going to give you some examples shortly. And you get up here to these nuclear events. In other words, these are catastrophic. You've got nuclear waste all over your business, and we're coming in and we're going to fix it. It's like a turnaround consulting kind of thing. And that's, you charge $20,000 a day for that kind of stuff. And we want to be in this range here. We want to do the kinds of things that allow us to be here and set the pricing that we want based on the value it is to the client, not because it's something that we have traditionally done. Again, we don't necessarily want to do everything that we've always done the same way, right? We want to increase the value that we have to our clients. Tanya, let's go ahead and take that second test, second quiz, and then we'll move forward.
All right, perfect. So I'll pop this up, and then there's a couple of questions that have come in while we're waiting for people to answer the poll. So it's, have clients asked you to provide advanced reporting beyond what is found in QuickBooks? So yes or no. Again, both questions must be answered in order to qualify for your CEC credits. So while we leave that up, okay, so Dominique said she missed the first poll, had to answer the door. So you can go ahead and just type that in, Dominique. I'll go back to that in a minute, so go ahead and answer this one. But she actually has mentioned as well, great point about the price elasticity. We can tell if our clients view our services as a commodity when we test the price increase. So she's absolutely agreeing with you there, Charles.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of this is just common sense, you know. I mean, it's like anything else, and you apply it to our personal lives. You know, I mean, there are things that we pay more money for because, you know, if you drive a Porsche, you probably don't work on that car yourself.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I'll close this down. Dominique, I can't get the first poll question until I close this down, so just bear with me a moment. Okay, so we'll end the polling here. Looks like everybody's voted and sharing the results. So 33% have said yes, 67% have said no.
Okay, so we have opportunity here.
Yeah, I myself find with the yes, I find that those people haven't asked. It's mainly because they don't know what's available outside of there, definitely.
Right.
So now I'm just going to, Dominique, I will type in so that we can continue on. I will type in an answer within the Q&A, the first poll question. Okay, great. So I'll stop to share these results, and you can take back over there, Charles.
Okay. So let's talk about, and then we're going to hop in a quick. I'm going to show you a quick package, and we'll hop in the app very quickly. We have about 20 minutes left. So these are the core technological capabilities that any solution you choose to provide advanced business had better be able to do. Because if they don't, if they have any holes on any of these things, you're going to be very, very limited in the value you can provide and how long it takes you to do it and how broad of a net you can cast. So got to be able to automatically sync that data from the, and we sync with all forms of QuickBooks, desktop and online, all flavors. If it's on this planet, you're good to go. Zero. We have some Excel upload capabilities, that kind of thing. Got to be able to automatically get that data out. In other words, you should come in and open the app, and that night it's synced, and you're ready to do reporting anytime you want. Or you want to audit, you want to sync manually by clicking a button. That's great. But you know, none of this opening QuickBooks dumping to Excel stuff, right? We can't do that. It's too time consuming. Time is money. You got to be able to map into a standard chart of accounts. You cannot consolidate effectively, and you cannot do peer benchmarking if you cannot put disparate, this is part of our patent, disparate chart of accounts data into a standard. I mean, you just have to have account mapping into a standard chart of accounts. Now, you need to be able to choose that chart of accounts, okay? Because you're going to have a different standard chart of accounts for your dog walking franchise clients or your snow cone clients than you have for your manufacturing customers. But you got to be able to map disparate data, a bunch of different files into that standard, because not everybody has the same chart of accounts and you can't lock it down, right? So, and you need to be able to automatically generate reports, and we call them templates. So think of a template as a template is a design that has relative components in it that knows how to hydrate the chart of accounts correctly, the data correctly across one or many units, one or many files. A template that will automatically work correctly, that it's industry agnostic. Hard to believe, but we have the tech for that kind of thing. And you want a solution that doesn't make you go constitute reports custom each and every month. And if you can't do that, then you can't scale. And we want to scale, don't we? We want to be able to click download and say, this is my reporting template I have for all my dentists, and this is the one I have for all my doctors, and this is the one I have for all my small shop, consulting type clients, that kind of thing. Now you want to be able to, and this is where you begin to bring a whole lot of power to the game. You want to be able to blend data. Now data blending is I'm going to put some P&L data with some balance sheet data with some non-financial data, because the client wants to know year over year profitability per temp staff per month, something like that as an example. Or like we showed you earlier, how much money did they make per day they were open per week? Well, it's non-financial data having to be blended with the financial data so we can derive a formula and have it run, okay? Now, all of these things happen. And when you can do all of these three things, then you can do this thing. But if you don't have these these four things, you can't do this one thing. Because business intelligence gets really limited because the data's not there to be blended and used. And you need to be able to do vertical analysis of peer benchmarking and critical insights and it's called conditional formatting. Those up-down arrows you saw, it's conditional formatting. If this condition happens, it's up. If it's not, it's down. But we want to do that automatically. And we don't want to be limited by what a client might ask us to do. So we're going to want to standardize as many templates as possible so we can just click, choose, and go. And we're going to talk about how you go to market on some of these things. One thing to take away, if you're going to build a nuclear reactor for every client every month, okay, it's highly valuable, but you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. So you're going to want to have a suite of standard reports and templates that you can call upon for 95% of your customers, and click download. And then you're going to charge that consulting revenue to build the nuclear reactor, right, for the clients that need a nuclear reactor. But every client does not need nor is willing to pay for something like that. So we'll come back to this shortly. I'm going to minimize this. Let's just take a look at a sample package. And we've kind of looked at this a little bit. We're going to move through it very briefly. So as an example, what you might deliver to your client would be a PDF or an Excel file. In this case, this is a PDF for dentist. You click dental, you click the dental client, you click download, and this comes out. So we've got a cover page, style the way, whatever you want to style it, you style it the way you want with all the data you want. You're going to want a disclosure page. These are not audited financial statements, and you should not, yada, yada, yada. And custom annotations. A specific client failed to give you something that month, you're going to want to make a notation of that as an example. And then we start getting into these kind of things where we have that conditional formatting. Now, the package you're looking at, we have clients that are charging $250 for this package on top of their core services. And it takes 45 seconds to get it. Everybody do that ROI calculation. 45 seconds to make $250. I don't know what the hourly rate is, but it's a big number. We are charging $250 for 45 seconds of work, right? So more of this, automated downloadable templates and reports that hydrate. And what are you going to do? So what you do with this package, what a lot of our clients do is they'll take the package, this suite of reports I'm going to show you, and you go out to someone in this industry. Maybe this is your dental package. We just talk dental. This is your dental package. And so you're going to go market to your local dentist. Hey, when you come and take my core services, I'm going to give you this report every month. We're going to spend 5 minutes talking about this kind of stuff. And you walk them through this package. And the dentists are going to go, well, then, this, how much are you going to charge me for this? And I got people charging over $500 for this. I got people charging, $100 for this, $250. It depends on how you want to price it. And Qvinci is so cost effective, you cannot say no. Trust me. It's going to jumpstart your revenue. But what it does is when you're going to talk to your client about delivering business intelligence, and they're going to understand what you're laying in front of them before they ever ever sign up with you. When you come to me, I'm going to deliver this to you. We're going to talk about this for 10 minutes every month. We're going to go through things like this. I'm going to do your accounting, your bookkeeping accurately. I'm going to keep your books completely up to date and pristine. I have a network of people just like you in my stable, or I've got a bunch of small SMBs that are all unrelated to each other, but I can deliver this will work for individuals. You don't have to have a group of people for this to work. It works for any business client you've got. I'm going to deliver this to you, and we're going to talk about the results. Because then we're going to go from that one, and we're going to go down to these charts that show you you're trended. And Dr. Smith, this is why you care about trending, because you're likely to keep doing what you've been doing. We want to pay attention to trending, historical trending and month-over-month comparisons in a way that's something that's easy to digest. We don't like these red numbers here, as an example. Okay? And the next one is this top 10 report. We kind of showed you these things. How about this one? Put the budget into QuickBooks, okay? And Qvinci will automatically pull it out. Oh, by the way, it'll consolidate a plurality of budgets. You got a client that's got 3 files, that's do budgeting in 3 files, they consolidate and give you this report out automatically. But we want something that's easy to understand. So yeah, here's your last month and with your over under budget, what the percent is, and year to date over under budget. And here's a chart that shows the trending. Why do we want to show trending? Trending is important. Am I going the right direction or not? Am I not? And it also shows you actionable. We missed the budget a bunch on the total, on the actual income line here. Easy to understand, easy to digest, and I love this. I want to build it once, make it a template, and have it automatically fall out, right? Don't you? Or who wants to build this every month for every customer? Well, the reason we don't build it every month for every customer is they wouldn't pay the rate for us to do all this stuff every month. Then here's that forecast. And then, of course, we're going to give them the whatever BI kinds of blended data. If it's a multi-unit entity, it might have this report in it. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give them the detail. The balance sheet, style the way that you want. Remember we said one of the things that everybody says is, I just don't want my reports to look like what they can do for themselves out of QuickBooks. This doesn't look like anything coming out of QuickBooks, right? Summary, styled, coded, year over year, last month. AP aging, if they have AR aging, it's just that you'll include these reports, you'll exclude these reports. Year to date over year to date, diff between the two. Red here is a bad thing, right? But we want to look at this report after we looked at all that business intelligence. And you want to be able to build any business intelligence on the front end that you want so that this supporting evidence on the back end gives the detail for the charts and graphs they saw on the front end. This is just an example of something you can do. It's not limited to this. It's an example. And it's full P&L, right? Trailing 12 month. Remember that trailing 12 month report? I did a lecture one time. Anyone see the bomb in here? If this is what, and this is a beautiful report and it's styled, but we give them a sterile report. Anyone see where the bomb is in this report? Because they're here. They're impossible to find. We want to give them this report on the back end of the package. It's good when you know what to go look for in here, okay? And then, of course, you're going to want to give them a statement of cash flows. And, you may want to put on this one, you might want to do a same month last year comparison. Qvinci allows you to do that and put a chart up, year-over-year chart with a variance. We've seen that before in these packages, right? Because, well, these numbers are all really good and they mean something. A, you're going to want to discuss them with the client. But B, you may want to do some comparison of the same period last year, okay? And then put a chart up to show how well they did this year versus last year. The trended comparisons are important, not just the snapshot. And then, of course, the BVA report, and this is one variant of many that we have on budget versus actual. But you know what I want to do? I want this thing to automatically come out of the file. I don't want to go build this every month. And I may want to, combine this with that the budget versus actual chart I saw earlier. Always go from general to specific, and that's what we do in these packages. But what I want to have happen is I want to build this package, stack these reports up, select the client, click download, and less than 1 minute later, I want this available to me so I can preview it and send it to the customer. Now, this becomes very different than what the customer gets. It's massively scalable. I spent no time doing it, and what am I going to charge for this? I can attract new customers, and I can charge for this, okay? You don't want to mark up Qvinci. Qvinci's price is so infinitesimally small, in my opinion. You can make a lot more money by charging for the BI you're giving your client, and you can deliver different BI elements for different clients. So this is kind of what a BI report might look like. So I tell you what we're going to do. We got 10 minutes left. I'm going to hop into the app really quickly and just give you an idea of kind of what it looks like, what your user experience probably should be. So as an example, I'm going to log into reports and libraries, and I'm going to look at what's available to me. Now, Qvinci has 70 GAAP-compliant reports and business intelligence tools ready for you to use as is: BVA month-over-month no scope, BVA by month total, BVA by entity. Or you can modify and change it, okay? So you can save as, modify, or you can use them as they are, as an example. And so your reporting experience ought to be any tool that you could pick. If you're going to scale your reporting experience, you want to build these reports and stack them in a package. In this case, this package contains a plurality of these reports and BI elements that we put in there. And you want to be able to build these in an Excel-like interface, right? The authoring tool is an Excel-like interface. Your reporting effort ought to look like this. I go to the entities, I select the QuickBooks file, the client for the QuickBooks files here, click this, apply the filter, and click preview. And it downloads it, and I'm done. So we're going to build libraries of reports and libraries of packages. And when we have an authoring tool, let me see if I can move this. There we go. I'm going to move this thing out of the way. Your authoring tool needs to be something that is familiar. So I'm going to edit this report. This is that BVA report with the chart and graph in it. So you want to have a tool that's easy to use but flexible enough to adapt to any need that you might have. What do we all know? We all know Excel, don't we? I mean, we all know how to use Excel. Well, Qvinci's put an Excel-like interface that has almost full capabilities on top of all the capabilities of pulling the data together so that you can build a chart and graph and hydrate this data across these entities. If I just want to look at this entity like right now, I'd simply click it and I'd preview this report and I'd look at it on the screen. And Qvinci will put the data up on the screen for you. Getting a lot of background noise from somewhere.
Oh, sorry, I unmuted myself. That's here.
Okay.
I didn't realize I unmuted myself. Sorry about that.
So you can see here that just previewing that report gave me the budget versus actual report. I want to be able to build reports in an Excel-like interface. I want to be able to put them in a library. I want to be able to compare like kinds of clients and do peer benchmarking. I want an Excel interface that allows me to author reports in something that is very, very familiar to me. I want a solution that will pull data out automatically and populate it automatically and give me an output package that I can have in less than a minute. So business intelligence with relative and trended data, automatically hydrated, automatically downloaded, right, that I can use to go present to new clients, show them why they should come to me, that will jumpstart my services, right? And then I want to be able to just go log in and click it over and over again. But what we don't want to do is do a lot of manual processes to get this kind of BI out. We want to invest our time and effort using something like this so that we can automatically have it on demand when we need it, when we want it. And we'll use this to go to market. You'll download packages and put them in front of prospective clients and say, this is why you come to me, because I'm going to give you advanced reporting and advanced business intelligence. You don't have to tell them it only takes you 50 seconds to get it. It's none of their business. Good for you. You invested and built core competency inside your firm. You should reap the rewards of automation and scaling and advanced technologies. And then you apply your financial acumen to help that client navigate the financial results. Tanya, I'm going to turn it back to you now. If we have any Q&A, I see we have about 6-7 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and
all right,
stop the presentation for right now.
Perfect. Okay, so Dominique has asked if you could please illustrate an example of dynamic mapping accounts. So she's just looking for an example of what type of accounts you might dynamically map.
Sure. Let me hit this real quick. So I'm going to go to, let me zoom down here a little bit. I don't have the, I'm going to zoom it down just a hair. Here we go, map to SCOA, and then I'm going to zoom it back up here. I'm on a smaller screen today. So as an example, this is just one example. Intuit has 17 types. These are all the types in QuickBooks. Qvinci has one called non-financial. It's a new Qvinci type. So imagine with me that you created, I'm going to go to expenses. You created a reporting structure like this. I want business expenses, and these are all the accounts I want, okay? Well, what Qvinci will do, and I'm going to click the, let me move this out of the way again. It's blocking me over here. I'll put all the accounts here. So what Qvinci says is, well, here's all the QuickBooks files, and here's the native chart of accounts coming in here, and I need to map that account into the standard over here. And so you would simply, I think the income's got some unmapped accounts. So I've got these are my clients. These are different clients, and I've got some native accounts, and they'll be all over the place. And I need to map that file, and that account from that file into sales, into my standard. And I click map. And what that means is when you run reports in not a native mode like this, but you flip a switch called the account map mode, then all of these accounts are going to show up in the sales category. That way you can put them up side by side or consolidate. And you can create this reporting structure that you're looking for. This is how you would do something for a nonprofit, for instance. You'd create a custom reporting structure and map the plurality of the accounts and the plurality of files, if possible, into that standard so that it's revenue. And there's a lot of ways to slice this thing, but we can't cover it today because we don't have enough time of actually using the tool to do this kind of thing. But that's the kind of stuff you can do. Any other questions?
All right, perfect. And then yes, so is there a custom letter and email within the report function? And is there a special one-time report function?
We don't have a one-time report. We're a monthly subscription. So you can run it as much as you want. And I will say that users are free in Qvinci. So you'll build your documents. Let me answer the first question. You'll build your documents as like an Excel report to be used, and it'll automatically put different, like customer name. Qvinci will automatically put the customer name, your logo, the date it was run, all kinds of we call them lookups in there automatically for you. But what you want to do is build a library of these things and put them in there, and then use them interchangeably across the various clients that you might have.
Okay, and then can we run a commentary report each month on top of the regular set of reports?
You could. You're probably going to want to use an Excel upload for those kind of commentaries, so you can blend the the commentary data along with the financial data. But there's a way to put annotations. One of the things that we do that most people find advantageous, the annotations can be inserted at download time. If you wanted to put some commentary and layer that inside the reports on various pages, that kind of thing, you could do something like that at download time. That way your templates work ubiquitously across every one of your clients, but the different comments are inserted at different times or different annotations. Other questions?
All right, perfect. And that was it. Just another comment saying that Dominique says her clients can focus on one or two things only, it seems. Yeah, but yeah, no other questions so far.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
So do you want to take the screen back? You want me to stop sharing, Tanya?
Yeah, you can just stop sharing, and that is great. So I thank everybody for attending today. As I said, the email with the recording will go out along with any of the links, the sign-up links and whatnot that Qvinci has provided to us, and that will go out within 2 days. Perfect. So I thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, Dominique just says the software looks great. Thank you for an excellent presentation. Oh, and Maria said she doesn't see costing on the Qvinci website.
We only have really one fee because users are free, so you can have as many tax and audit people running reports as much as you want to. As a general rule, our MSRP is $19.95 per month per QuickBooks file, as an example. So I think you can see that if you're going to do something like this and you're going to layer on some reporting services and that sort of thing, I mean, our clients are getting tenfold return on investment, and it's a month-to-month subscription. So what you'll do is you'll get a link where you can do a custom webinar with us, and we'll go through all of that sort of thing. But we'll also do a deep dive into the app. So do look for those the email, which will have a link to actually join up with us on more of a detailed, personalized webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I thank you very much. That seems to be all the questions and comments. So yes, thank you, Justin, Brad, and Charles for all of your time today, and that's great.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Tanya.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.